Recognize Mr. Carter of Georgia for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank all of you for being here. We really appreciate it. Mr. Berkman, I want to thank you especially for your help and with my office with Sammy's Law. I'm the lead sponsor on that legislation, and it's good legislation, and we couldn't have gotten to the point we're at now without your help and your office's help. So thank you for that, and I hope we see that move through the committee process. It needs to, very much so. You know, you've heard it said so many times here before already, 30 years ago, where were we at and how much we've evolved over that and the internet's evolved over that. I would suggest to you that the internet's one of the greatest inventions of all time, and we've witnessed that. But we know we need to do something. We know that we've got to address this situation as it exists now, because 30 years ago is not as relevant now as it was then, and practically not relevant at all. I've got a vested interest in this. I'm a father of 3, a grandfather of 7, with the 8th one on the way. I want to make sure we get this right. I want to make sure we get it right for my grandchildren. And part of the problem and part of the blame, I believe, is with Section 230, because it's kind of set a free-for-all on the internet. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to stifle innovation. That's why this is such, this is not easy, and this is important. We need to get it right, because we don't want to stifle innovation. We need to continue to have innovation. But at the same time, there's got to be a sweet spot there, and we got to find it. Ms. Tumarillo, I want to start with you. You talk about the content moderation or lack thereof that could happen if Section 230 were sunset. Either companies may leave up most of the content, or they may over-moderate the content. Why don't companies know? I mean, surely they can guesstimate what they're going to do. They ought to be able to know what they're going to do.
Thank you for the question, Congressman. I think this gets back to 230 as kind of a legal shortcut to the inevitable legal conclusion, which is that in the vast majority of cases, startups especially, but all internet platforms don't have knowledge about every piece of content every user shares. And while, yes, 230 is almost 30 years old, the internet has only grown in scale and scope since then, and so there's even more content to try to figure out. Courts would likely, at the end of the day, hold a lot of, kind of in the cases we're thinking about, they would often hold platforms as liable as they would hold bookstores, who don't have to be responsible for every page and every book on their shelves. And so to avoid having distributor liability, platforms might bury their head in the sands and say, we don't have knowledge of this. We didn't know about this harmful content. We're not looking for it. We're not finding it. We don't know about it. We can't be held liable in court. I think that cuts against a lot of what this committee is looking to do in creating a safer, healthier internet. And so that's one of the consequences of sunsetting Section 230. To your point, the other side is some platforms who are really invested in getting this right might over-remove, and we might see lawful, productive expression taken down online, and that's also a concern. Okay.
Mr. Berkman, in your testimony, you directly quote several social media executives acknowledging the harms caused by their platforms. And we frequently hear that platforms don't have the capacity or the manpower to effectively protect the users, their users. What's it going to take? What's it going to take for the platforms to rise to the occasion?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for your leadership on Sammy's Law, along with the other bipartisan co-leads. And that, therein lies the answer, is Congress needs to act and force them to, because we are seeing the prioritization of profits over safety. And when we're talking about innovation, one point I want to make here that's really critical is, if I want to go innovate and create a new type of car there, I am subject to normal tort law. If my business isn't capitalized sufficiently and I can't afford to put in seat belts and a car seat holder, I can't make that car and I can't sell it. And so if companies are going on the market and they're not able to be safe for consumers, especially children, that is an issue. And that's why Congress needs to really rework the regulatory framework here.
Good. I've only got 30 seconds left. Ms. Goldberg, real quickly, Section C2 shields the platforms from liability for material that is considered to be obscene, lewd, filthy, excessively violent, and otherwise objectionable. Do you think otherwise objectionable is too broad?
Well,
Can you give me any examples how this has been used in court, otherwise objectionable?
I mean, the thing is that it's basic. C2 is basically canceled out by C1 because everything in C2 is content, and C1 says that you can't sue a platform for content. So it's for decoration.
You know, I remember Justice Stevens, I believe it was him who said, don't ask me to define pornography, but I know it when I see it. I mean, otherwise objectionable. Anyway, I'm out of time, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back. Thank you all again for being here.